are a force, whatever you want to call it, that understands how this works. Right. So they've structured a society that is to close down all the channels to consciousness, to isolate us in mind, because then we're playing in their stadium. And one of the key things is to close the heart, to close the heart. And if you want to open the heart and you want to become conscious, it's what I say in my talks, then what we need to do is to ask the question, what would consciousness do at this point? Would consciousness, when we're faced with these circumstances, say, well, what's the best outcome for me? No, consciousness will say, what is right, just, fair thing in this situation for me to do? And if we, when we're faced with choices all through the day, ask that question, in this circumstance, what would consciousness do? And act upon it, crucially, then everything changes. And our life changes. Why? Because we are now starting to resonate with consciousness because we're operating in its realm, which is by doing what we say consciousness would do in these circumstances, we are vibrationally locking in to that level and therefore becoming more and more influenced by consciousness. When we say, well, yeah, well, I never see that, but I mean, it's not good for me if I do what's right in this situation. I must do what's right for me. That's mind, so that's locking you into mind. You know, this thing about becoming conscious, I see it so often all over the world. I mean, I was in India just before Christmas, and you know, good luck to them, but they make it sound so complicated. And you know, a lot of the complication, I see this with New Age people that stand on stages and do workshops, not all of them, of course, but I see it with gurus in India and stuff like that. Not all of them, again, but vast numbers of them. The complexity says two things. One, they don't really understand it, because if you really understand something, you can put it in simple language.
I'd agree with
this
that.
Is why you get academia repeating jargon, and you say, look, I'm an idiot, mate, okay? I never passed an exam in my life. I left school at 15 to be a professional soccer player. You're going to have to put it in language I can understand. They can't, because they don't really understand it. They're just repeating jargon. And the other side of the complexity of becoming conscious is if you can make it sound complex, then you've taken power over your potential audience.
Absolutely.
That's a big thing. Because you have to come through me, and the more I make it sound complex, the more power I have, and therefore the more you must come to me, and the longer you must stay with me. And oh, by the way, you know, put the check in the box as you leave. And yet it is so simple. This is the point I would make. People talk about we must become conscious. It's a line. We are conscious. That is our natural state. What's happened is barriers that we have been manipulated, and we must take responsibility for it too, big time, have put in place, have symbolically created a concrete shell around our natural state. And this concrete shell are all the things that control people: fear and stress and conflict and seeking success and competition and all this stuff. It's not that we have to become conscious. We are conscious. It's like breaking that shell. And that shell is mind domination.
It's like the lie that's in language. Like the lie that's in language when people say, my spirit, my soul, and I'm hungry. It's like, wait a minute, this is the wrong way around here. You know, I have a body, and my body is hungry, and my body is tired, and I am a soul, and I am a spirit. But language, which is a product of the mind in the first place, because we don't think we don't talk how we think how we talk, and language is one of the ways in which we're programmed to think.
Massive way, massive.
As George Orwell pointed out in 1984.
Programming the computer. But what are words? They're vibrational fields. So again, even the words that program us are actually coming in at a vibrational level, a waveform level, and they're only decoded into language when they pass through the brain construct. So everything gets in, that plays out here, gets in at a vibrational level. That's why we need to get to that level of ourselves and clear ourselves out, because that's where all the patterns are put in. And I use this analogy in my talks that a ball, its natural place in a tank of water is on the top, just floating away, the natural state, free, going like, If you want to put the ball in a natural state in the tank, you've got to put it on the bottom of the tank, and you've got to hold it there. You can't put it there and it'll stay there, because it's not its natural state. Its natural state is floating on the top, and natural state is being conscious. So what the manipulation has had to do is, and this says something about the true scale of who we are, it has had to bombard us with so many multi-level systems of control, diversion, and manufactured ignorance to symbolically hold the ball on the bottom. And it hasn't succeeded with...
Mounting.
Say again?
This is their mounting.
Yeah.
These systems of control. That's what the move towards, you know, a fascist state and a world government is all about. I actually heard an interview with you in which you talked about that fact. The fact that, you see, the fact that we are, to use your analogy, which is a very good one, we are consciousness, and as that ball, we are moving as a group towards the surface of the water. We're actually getting out of their grasp.
Right.
As that happens, they're intensifying their game to want to keep that ball down. And so that's why the stakes are rising on both sides.
Couldn't agree more.
And what's going to happen is, look at the natural, I mean, even the metaphor is perfect. Because what's going to happen ultimately? The water and the ball are going to win. Okay? There's no way that those forces, as much as they intensify, sometime, somewhere, that ball is going to get to the surface, like it or not, the powers that be. Now, what's going to be interesting is if they actually start understanding on a deeper level than power and their power over, because I've got the clue and I've got the key. That's what the Illuminati, you know, that's what they think. They think if you don't get it, then we can hold you down. You deserve to be held down. That's actually their, I'm sure you know this is their rationale. So what happens when we, because we're greater than our body, you know, the consciousness that we are is greater than what they are, because they're on limitation, starts to win in their own mind, you see, and they start to let go. Because this is what's probably happening. There have to be many members that have been under the thumb of this game and have joined and are being, you know, we're being patted on the head and given all the reinforcement necessary to keep them in the game. What happens when they start to see the light, so to speak?
And some of them, I'm sure, already are, because there's nothing more fiercely compartmentalized than this whole control structure itself. There's so many people within the control structure, right down into mainstream society, that are daily contributing to this gathering fascist global state, who have no idea of the true implications of it, or as they go up higher and higher, have been misled about the nature of themselves, reality, and the force behind it.
So the nature of the chaos and the destruction will actually work in the favor of releasing the ball, because what happens is, during chaos, you can change sides, you see. You can actually, you know, it's really hard to maintain control during a time of destruction.
Yeah, I agree. You know, what I would say is that the ball will get to the top of the water when the ball realizes it is the water. The scale of the movement and the speed of movement of this conspiracy now, as it puts in more and more surveillance, more and more control, more and more centralization of power, etc. I've been saying for years now, that is not about even gathering more power. It is about defending the control that's already there, because they understand. I mean, if I can go to a psychic in England in 1990 to be told through this psychic that this vibrational change was coming and it was going to create a spiritual revolution, I mean, are the Illuminati families not going to know that this spiritual change, this vibrational alarm clock is coming? I mean, of course they are.